Good afternoon, and very good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Biography. Today's episode is special, and it's my message to Nikon. It's a request video from my side, and I really wish to have a certain type of camera, and I'm going to explain in this video what I'm wishing. But before I put my request, I just want to go back in time and explain why I need to have a particular type of camera. What happened in past was Nikon made some really great cameras, starting with D3 and D700. These cameras are legendary, especially when it comes to color, when it comes to image quality, when it comes to provide a premium image output. D700 still shines. D700, which is actually a 12 megapixel camera, is still holding its value up to $500 in a very great condition with low shutter counts. Now, why I'm mentioning D700? Nikon made tons of great cameras like D850, D8500, D3, D3S, D4, D4S, D810, D800, DF, Z9, Z8. But the thing is, each of these cameras, some of them shines with their unique ability to do certain things. Now, what exactly I mean by certain things? Well, if you look into the past, when the D3 was launched, it was a milestone in Nikon industry, in their history. D700 was launched called as a baby D3, which is true. But D3 put up its own league. It created its own league. Because D3, even though it comes with single card slots, which I wish they did, but the button controls, the image quality, no video, robust body, high ISO capability, the noise which doesn't look bad at all. Actually, it looks good in many scenarios. All these things, especially the colors, all these things make the D700 still holding its value. Now, this video is not about D700, but I am starting with D700 to put you guys into perspective what exactly I am trying to say. So D700 created its own league based on its color. That being said, the next leap, the next jump that we saw and experienced was D750. Insane high ISO capability. The dynamic range of D750 was off the charts at that time. Nobody was expecting D750 was having this much kind of a SNR, which gives the D750 the top selling DSLR in Nikon history. It is. The previous best selling camera was, I believe, D90, which was crop sensor, but D750 surpassed everything based on its performance, the output. Of course, D750 got several recalls based on the shutter Mac, but that's sideways. We are talking about what exactly the camera delivers, and D750 was and is still holding its value based on what it can do, and it can do much more than D700 in low light. It provides better ISO capability, better dynamic range than D700, but D700 is still holding its value based on the image quality, the colors, so which you will not find in D750. So each camera is holding its own value. Then after D750 we saw an experience, the D850. Now the D850 was built as a like do-it-all camera. You can do sports, action, wildlife. You can do sports. You can do photojournalism. Best for landscape, best for portrait, and to some extent into street photography. With 45.7 megapixel, it was the D850 is still the king of the DSLR. It's the first camera from Nikon which scored 100, the top in the DxO rating, DxO mark rating, which DxO mark basically the individual entity which tests the camera output, sensor output, its color depth, low light capability, high ISO, dynamic range, stuff like that. So all the techie things DxO mark do, and Nikon D850 was the first camera which scored 100, which was the highest. Of course, there are other camera came after that which scored 100, which you can go to on dxomark.com and you can check that out. But that's not the case. The case is D850 created its own leak. It provides very rich color. The build quality was excellent. It can do 8K time lapse, very good 4K video right out of the box. Provided good lenses, very great 153 autofocus point, just like D5 or D500. But the image quality that you were getting from D850 was top of the line. No other DSLR is still reached to that level. I'm talking about DSLR. So the D850 basically created its own aura, which still mesmerizing a lot of photographers. Even today, I'm making this video in June 2023. Still, a lot of guys wish to have D850 for various reasons. But it's okay. And still D850 holds its value. You won't find anything less than $2,500, which is insane, even after 5 years. This is how good the D850 is. So D700, D750, and D850. One with the best color, D700. One with very great dynamic range, high ISO capability, D750. And one is D850, which provides the best dynamic range, better than D750, but at the lowest ISO. If you want to increase ISO and try to get dynamic range, D850 is not the camera, D750 is, because D750 24 megapixel, less megapixel, you can go to high ISO and still get better dynamic range. That's where D850 kind of struggles. So these three cameras are standing and creating their own league, their own customer base, market. And then we enter into the mirrorless world after D850. And into the mirrorless world, we saw Z6, Z6, Z7. We saw Z6 too, Z7 too, and then Z9 came, and everything was changed. Z9 literally almost eliminate every complaint that we used to have for Z6 autofocus or Z7 autofocus. And with the firmware updates of 2.0 and 3.0, the Z9 evolved into an entirely new camera with each firmware update from 1.0 to 2.0 to 3.0. In each iteration of the firmware update, Z9 literally evolves as a new camera. Instead of releasing a new product, Nikon made the Z9 feels like a new camera with a free firmware update. Unlike the other company who released a new product with a bunch of feature, they added into the older bodies. Nikon decided not to do that. Nikon decided they made a camera so robust that just like a solid state computer, you just put a new firmware update and it works like a new camera. So you are saving your money. You don't have to sell the old gears and go for a new one, because your camera, which you invested heavily, is behaving like a new camera, which is a good thing. Now, the Z9 is still, in my opinion, one of the best mirrorless camera in the world. But Z9 is having the best autofocus in the Nikon mirrorless world, without question, like without any doubt. But the problem is, it's 45 megapixel, so the high ISO capability is not that great. Of course, it is better than D850 because both got 45.7 megapixel, but it's still one complete stop better at high ISO. So like for example, if you are shooting with D850 with 6400 ISO and the amount of noise that you are getting in D850, you will get the same amount of noise in 12800 ISO on Z9. So like D850 6400 ISO and Z9 12800 ISO, they both the same. So because of the better SNR inside the Z9, you get the better performance. But that's not it. I need all of these four cameras: D700, D750, D850 and Z9. I want to combine all these cameras into one. And boom. That's it. I wish to have a camera, mirrorless, or DSLR. Well, let's say mirrorless, because mirrorless got better glass. I wish to have a mirrorless camera which contains the autofocus of Z9, which comes with premium image quality like D850, which comes with the one of the best high ISO and dynamic range of D750, and the colors like D700. Now, some of you will say, well, the color of D850 is just like D700. Well, that's not it. D700 still upper hand on D850 when it comes to color and contrast and images right from the camera, which you don't need any edit. D700 still shines. I really wish the Bayer filter that was used in D700, you use the same Bayer filter on this new camera, which I wish to have. My wish list is, I wish to have a mirrorless camera, which is from 12 megapixel to maximum 24 megapixel PSI sensor with the dynamic range like an D750 or Z6, Z6 II. They are very great. And autofocus system just like Z9. The bare filter over that 12 megapixel or 24 megapixel just like D700. The build quality just like D700 or Z9 robust, and can shoot 120 frames per second and all that fancy stuff like Z9. But when we combine all these four cameras and see, imagine the output. Of course, I need 2 card slots. You can go with 1 CF and 1 SD. I prefer to have 2 CF card, but I don't think so that camera with these kind of specs can bear 2 CF. But 1 CF and 1 SD will work in many scenarios. So I really wish, Nikon, that you make this camera. And I can assure you I will be the first in line to buy it without any second thought, because I have used all of your DSLR and I know how your camera's SNR firmware at every pixel level from 12 megapixel to 24 megapixel to 45 megapixel, how your SNR works in that region at different pixel count. I know that. So I know that 24 megapixel is the very sweet spot that you can go with, because I know 12 megapixel you won't be happy because people will say, well, 12 megapixel not good. Well, your competitor is still making 12 megapixel machine, still making in 2023. Why don't you make it? Think about it. It's one of the best low light. If you go with 12 megapixel, it will create a low light monster based on the SNR firmware that you are using, because your SNR firmware is far better than the other competitors. You can achieve the similar low light performance using the 24 megapixel which the other competitor tried to do with 12 megapixel. You have this magic. You can do that. You can literally destroy a big market in one slash of a camera. Like you just make one camera, 24 megapixel, with Z9 autofocus, with 2 guard slot, with D700 bare filter and image quality just like the 700. And the lower megapixel will be better. And the low light performance of it, it's going to be insane. Because I know I shot with D750 and at 12,800 ISO, I was shocked to see there was not much grain. That's why I put D750 as an example. So if you build that machine with all these specs which I mentioned, you will simply going to kill Canon 60 Mark II, R6, R6 II, Mark II, Panasonic S5 and Panasonic S5 II, A7, A7 Mark II, A7 Mark III, A7 Mark IV. You are going to kill all these cameras by just releasing one product. Just one. Because I know with 12 megapixel or maximum 24 megapixel, with Z9 autofocus system, with T700 kind of a colors rendition using the bare filter that was used in the D700, the premium image quality, the way D850 renders, and the insane SNR firmware which was used in D750, which can shoot at high ISO and still get one of the best dynamic range at any ISO level, you will create a monster. And I need to have that monster. That monster can shoot with 4K at 30p, 60p, 120p. I don't need 8K. We don't have 8K monitors. So what's the point? 4K is enough for me. You released Z8 and I truly appreciate that. I truly appreciate that, and I'm very happy that I have the Z9 package in a smaller form factor with $1,500 less. I'm very happy, but it's still 45 megapixel. I need low megapixel so I can shoot at high ISO and still get a better dynamic range, because that's my way of shooting. And I need T700 bare filter. Please. Please. I'm a very hardcore fan of T700 when it comes to image quality. The colors right from the camera. It's unmatchable by any other camera on planet. The second closest that I saw was your D200, which comes with the CCD sensor. I just love the way D200 renders the image, the color it produces. It creates less burden on me in post-processing. These two cameras, D700 and D200. Yes, go and make fast stacked sensor, 24 megapixel stacked sensor, which can shoot 120 frames per second or 60 frames per second. Now I know that if with 24 megapixel, if I go with 60 frames per second, I'll get 10 megapixel. And if I shoot with 120 frames per second, I'll probably go with 8 or 5 megapixel of image. That's fine, I understand that. And I'm happy because I'm shooting still with T200, which is 10 megapixel crop sensor. So I'm more than happy to shoot with 60 frames per second and shoot sports action wildlife. I don't need 120 frames per second because it works for me in many scenarios. Social media upload is 2 to 8 megapixel. So with shooting 24 megapixel full frame in the crop mode to get 60 frames per second, I'll get 10 megapixel image at 60 frames per second, and I'm happy because the social media requirement is 8 megapixel and less. It works. It's a win-win situation. Think about it, Nikon. Think about it. I really need to have this machine, and I hope one day you will give it to me. It's my humble request to you. I don't have the engineering capability, else I would have bought T700 5-6 units, take out the sensor, put into the Z9 body, replace the sensor with T700 sensor, do all these codings and make my own camera. I can't do that. I would have done if I know this tech. Please think about it. There are so many guys out there who want this type of machine which I mentioned in this video. Thank you for watching it and considering my request. I'll see you guys, and I'll see you Nikon in future with this product in my hand, and then I'll make another video saying thanks to you. Till then, take care.